councillor questions. My supplementary question was, would Councillor Riley look into the speed of people being able to downsize instead of Councillor Rowley?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mark Rowley.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we've got the former Lord Lieutenant David Lang. We've spelt his name wrong. It's L-A-I-N-G.
Okay, thank you. With those amendments, subject to those amendments, can I move that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 7th of March 2024 are moved? Can I see a seconder? So, Councillor Lawman, thank you. May I see those in favour of the minutes? Thank you. Those against? Thank you. And any abstentions? That's one against. Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest that councillors wish to make related to any item to be discussed? Councillor John McGee.
Thank you, Chair. On my motion put forward, I am a member of Unite, a retired member of Unite the Union.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ross-Armour.
Thank you. On motion 3, I'm an employee of Beanfield Community Association, which manages Beanfield Community Centre.
Okay. Councillor Alison Dial.
Thank you, Chair. On motion 3, I am the chair of Beanfield Management Committee, so I support the Beanfield Community Centre.
Thank you. Councillor Laura Lorman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm also a retired member of the United Union, but the non-political part, which has been excluded from my membership. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Pengelly.
I'm an active member of the United Union, and they represent me in my place of work.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Graham Lawman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is on my website, but I'm a board member of the Hemwell Skills and Community Centre.
Thank you. And Councillor Lynn Buckingham.
I too am a member of Unite the Union.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other declarations of interest? Thank you. Councillor Simon Riley.
Yeah, hi Chair. I'm also a member of Unite the Union.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 4, Chairman's announcements. This will be my last opportunity to chair a full council meeting. It's been an honour, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for the respect that you have afforded me in this role. A great deal has already been achieved in building a strong foundation for an authority that serves its local residents, and I trust that with the mutual respect and understanding, we can work together to achieve much more in the years to come. As I've been out and about meeting with groups and organisations, I have garnered a greater understanding of the services they provide. I feel it's important, however, that this should not just sit with me. I need to ensure that knowledge is available to benefit others. With this in mind, I've invited the Chief Executive of Age UK, Mr. Christopher Duff, to give a brief outline of the vast range of services Age UK offer. Unfortunately, age is something that concerns us all, whether we have older relatives and friends we need to care for, or whether we are of an older generation and we need to give thought to those who may at some stage have to care for us. Age UK provides services which can give vital assistance at a time, at what can be a very difficult time in people's lives. Can I please call on Mr. Christopher Duff to give your presentation? Thank you.
Councillor Jenny, thank you so much for the invitation today. It's a privilege, it's an honour to address the full council. Age UK Northamptonshire is 72 years old this year. We have been and are the major charity supporting older people across all your areas in North Northamptonshire. We are known, often affectionately, as Age Concern. I need to underline that we are not a national charity. We are purely local. The Age UK network is a brand partnership, an unusual arrangement. We don't have to be part of that partnership, but we choose to do so. Our charity is often the glue in North Northamptonshire for the linking, the support of older people together. We feel we bring innovation, flexibility, together with the public ethos of a quality service. My office is in Irthlingborough, and our other main centre is in Northampton. And I've been Chief Executive for 6 years, and I can say, hand on heart, that it is the very best job I have ever had in a demanding career. And I am very much aware that, as with all those who work for our charity, I am here to serve, to find solutions, and to solve the problems of our clients. Even though we're 72, we're not an old organisation. We have had to renew and revitalise ourselves constantly, not least after the stresses of COVID. The one constant is that the needs of older people will always keep on rising, as they always have done, and that we need to be strong, resilient, and relevant as an organisation. Thank you, Councillor Jenny, for coming to our AGM last year. The demand for our services is in the last year, just completed, is the strongest in all our history. Please bear in mind, we are not a small charity. We have some 29 services, and I have left a little booklet for all of you outside on the table for your tea break, together with our most recent magazine, which seems to get bigger each time we print it. But in Northamptonshire, we had 7,304 referrals last year, out of a total of 14,575 for people in North Northamptonshire. We had 4,027 new clients starting on our services in your area last year, out of a total of 8,549. And we have 4,222 clients who live in North Northamptonshire as at the end of March this year, out of a total of over 9,000 clients. So you can see that we are doing a lot. And the reason for telling you about these statistics is that not just that they're big. You are about 50% of the county. The rest of the county, West Northamptonshire, is about the same. But I cannot stress enough that whilst these are simple numbers, they represent positive outcomes, a solution to a problem, improvement in finance, improvement in well-being for those that we help. Our clients have been concerned about the cost of living, the cost of heating, but also access to services, transport, illness, loneliness, and of course mental health. COVID has brought a rise in heart and lung issues, and our ageing population brings more dementia and long-term health conditions. So it's not a surprise that the demand for our services has risen dramatically since 2022, and there have been consistent rises in referrals, new starts, and our total clients. The highest is in the quarter just past at the start of this year. I can assure you we operate in every single postcode in your area. We serve nearly all ages, not young people, all adults, and all groups. But our age profile reflects the highest need, and the majority of our clients are between 75 and 84, with the next highest those who are 85 to 94. We even have some 120 clients who are over 94. As I said, we have 29 distinct services. Those services we fund ourselves, those services where clients do pay, where they are able to, and services that we deliver for health and care. Comparing ourselves with other Age UKs who are part of the brand, we're quite unusual. We have a very big presence supporting our health colleagues and our care colleagues throughout Northamptonshire. As many of you will know, we provide daycare services in Kettering, and have done so for many years, supported previously by Kettering Council, so thank you. You are now providing funding for information and advice, handy persons through the Household Support Fund, and we utilised Household Support Fund monies for our clients last year, so thank you for that as well. I can't go through all 29 services, but I'll just give you an indication, a flavour if you like, so I'll just mention three. Firstly, benefit checks and inquiries. We have had some 1,026 benefit inquiries, 1,187 attendance allowance claims. That, interestingly, is up 40% on the year before, and our information and advice team has brought in some £3.7 million into the county for benefits that we have claimed. We have a 99% success rate on attendance allowance. The second service I'd highlight would be our money management service, which has expanded from helping people manage their cash, manage bills, sometimes to deal with cases of financial abuse, and now provides an appointeeship service to further assist people with low income and low assets. We have now established a trust corporation which allows us to be a client's lasting power of attorney and to manage their property and financial affairs if they lose capacity to do so. We have Court of Protection applications currently underway where our charity will be appointed as property and financial affairs deputies. I mentioned that because we're increasingly in a relationship with your social care officers and are receiving clients now from them. And I think that's something that could grow in future. The third service I would mention would be a service we call Care Support at Home, which is exactly what it is. It's growing really positively over the last year. It offers a very flexible service to clients in their home or wherever, providing companionship, help with meals, going to an appointment, shopping, walking the dog, whatever is needed or indeed wanted by the client. So its very flexibility means it appeals to a wide range of people. And we're intending to widen that service even further. We intend to offer it as a CQC registered service. We are already CQC registered, and to provide personal care where needed. So we hope to explore with you whether this is a service that you would like to refer clients to. I hope sincerely that despite the challenges you face due to limited funding, that we can build and cement our relationship going forward. We deliver our services directly, but we are increasingly working in partnership, in particular with other charities who are also concerned about the interests of older people. Most recently, we've worked to bring together a detailed report about the issues facing older people and a number of proposals. And I hope you may seek that out and want to read that. In conclusion, I hope that I have given a little bit of an indication that our charity is a key part of the support for older people in your area in Northamptonshire. We are busier and delivering more than ever before. We get results, and we are a very capable and cost-effective organisation. And we stand ready to deliver innovative services, as we've done for many years, in a strong partnership with all of you and Northamptonshire Council. So thank you again for all of you who support what we do. We appreciate it very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Duff, for taking the time to speak to us today and giving us a valuable insight into the work of Age UK. If anyone is interested or knows of someone who would benefit from their services, then please pick up a leaflet. At this point, I would now like to pay tribute to Tim Maguire, who served on Wellingborough Borough Council and Northamptonshire County Council, who recently sadly passed away. I understand that Councillor Matt Keane would like to say a few words. If there are any other members who would also like to speak, could you please indicate on your microphones? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Tim Maguire was a hard-working councillor serving the Borough of Wellingborough, Northamptonshire County Council, Chester Parish Council, and he also served on the Shadow Authority. He was widely respected across the political movement, and anyone who'd met him would describe him as a complete character, but an absolute gentleman. He'll be missed by his constituents and all those who knew him. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jason Smithers.
Thank you very much, Chair. Councillor Maguire was an interesting character. I remember him very well on the Shadow Authority. He played a fundamental part in shaping the council that we are all part of today, and I know his constituents will miss him terribly. I would like to express the condolences of the Conservative group to our friends across the way here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor John McGee.
Thank you, Chair. I've known Tim for some time. He was a true gentleman and an extremely hard-working councillor locally. And I'm sure a lot of you on the other side will recognise that. In fact, it was that good I made him my whip when I was a leader at Northamptonshire County Council, because he was good at what he did. He got into the fine detail and he kept people on a straight and narrow. And he was a great not only a great councillor, but a great person to work with. And he will be sadly missed by all who knew him. And we pass on our condolences to his family and friends. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor John Paul Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had the honour to know Tim. He was my fellow ward councillor in Irchester when I served on the Borough Council of Wellingborough. He served on Irchester Parish Council with me, but also he was my neighbour. I only got to walk out my back door and Tim was always there. Certainly from a case, in Irchester's case, he was very highly thought of within the community. He did an awful lot, not just council-based work, but other things to help those within the community and to make the community in Irchester a better place to live. And I know an awful lot of people in Irchester will miss his presence. And I know tomorrow there's going to be a lovely church service at St Catherine's in Irchester at 1 o'clock, where I know an awful lot of people will be present to remember him. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, thank you for those comments. May I please ask you to stand for a minute's silence? Okay, we'll now move on to agenda item 5, leader's announcement. May I please see the leader of the council to make any announcements?
Thank you very much, Chair. I have a couple of announcements which I would like to make. Chair, members of the council, esteemed colleagues and galleries, guests in the gallery, should I say, I'd like to begin to acknowledge the presence of a new face amongst us today. I know we've done this already, but I think we should make him feel very welcome. Many of you will be familiar with Councillor Bill McKinney, who's just recently secured a resounding victory in the Desborough by-election. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Councillor McKinney as he takes his seat in this chamber for the first time. The significant margin of his victory is testament to the strong support he enjoys, Madam Chair, from the Desborough residents. I have no doubt that Councillor McKinney will begin to hit the ground running and get on with the work of this council within the Desborough ward. He's a very welcomed addition to our Conservative group here.
Thank you.
I would also like to acknowledge the successful Big 50 workshop earlier this week, and I thank all members and officers who participated. This event was a valuable step in fostering a collaborative co-design approach as we begin to shape this future of this council. I was inspired by the shared energy and innovative thinking from both elected members and officers. We as a council are the change makers. We hold the responsibility to create a brighter future for North Northamptonshire. So let us be bold, ambitious and unwavering in our commitment to a long-term plan. I will soon share the positive outcomes of the workshop and the work for you to all translate this momentum into a tangible action for our residents. My sincere thanks go to Councillor Keane and Councillor Feredovich, not here at the moment, she's walked out, I think, for unwavering support of the Big 50 vision. Whilst the composition of his council may evolve over... can't even read my own script here. This council may evolve. Our dedication to this vision must transcend political allegiances. Our residents deserve our absolute best. Let us all work together so that future generations will not look back with criticism, but with gratitude, knowing that we have made the choices today that shape their prosperous lives in 2050. I'm sure every member here will agree with this sentiment. We have a very unique opportunity to create a long-lasting change. Let's embrace our role as change makers and fulfil the potential of this council. Finally, Madam Chair, it's coming to the end of your tenure, as you quite rightly pointed out, and you have been an absolutely fantastic chair. You've been fair, and you have allowed debate to flow freely in the chamber, which is refreshing. I have enjoyed your countless amounts of stories of where you've been, people's lives you've touched, and the stuff that you've championed, and the constant on my case to get things done within the community to help you, which is fantastic. It shows your dedication to that how well you've taken that position as chair. You know, it's almost time to hand over the baton, but you can rest assured you're handing over that baton with the knowledge that the civic pride is better than it was when you took over, and I'm sure we will continue with that journey. But thank you very much, Madam Chair, for your excellent chairmanship over this last year. We'd like to give her a round of applause.
Well, thank you, and thank you for that tribute. As I've mentioned already, it has been an honour to fulfil this role, and I have every anticipation that it will continue, and the role of chairman will continue to grow and be recognised. But I do have 1 or 2 weeks left, so I look forward to continuing to get out and about and to meet certainly some of the wonderful organisations that are present within the area. Okay, we'll move swiftly on now to agenda item 6, which is public participation. There are 2 public statements received for this meeting. A copy of each public statement has been circulated, There is a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. May I please see the first speaker, Mr. Michael Blissett? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. The Rothwell site should not be selected in isolation. It should be forming part of the consultation that is starting around now to select suitable traveller sites up to 2030. That was agreed by the Executive Committee in November 23. I support Councillor Hatewell in his fight to achieve this. Information was recently requested under the Freedom of Information Act. There are serious concerns that need answering. In 22-23, there were other stopping sites being considered. This was done behind closed doors, and we were never allowed to know what these other sites were or be consulted on them. It was voted through to spend 1.3 million to build on and devastate this green wildlife area at Rothwell. You were not given the full facts details on the site at Rothwell. I would like to bring these to your attention, questions 1 to 4. And for you to reconsider how you voted and for the following facts to be discussed in detail at this meeting. Maybe you were not made aware of the following. 1, there is a fast-flowing stream brook that runs through the site towards Wickseas Park and cannot be protected from contamination if used as a temporary traveller site. Item 2, the wildlife survey that was carried out by Northamptonshire Wildlife Trust in 22 says that the site should be protected from development and remain a wildlife site. I've got the paper mixed up now. Item 3, the greenway route that runs through the site and is in the green corridor, that is to be protected from development. Item 4, the site is misdescribed as flat and a level site. It is far from this, as it all slopes down to the stream in the middle. If you visited the site, then I doubt if any of you would have gone onto the site, as it is hard to access, and you would only have viewed it from the Harrington Road, and again would not have been able to see and be aware of the fast-flowing stream brook in the middle of the site that runs towards Wicksteed Park and also supports the important wildlife. If you had been given the full facts details on the Rothwell site, then I think you would agree that this is the most unsuitable site. The full facts were not properly considered on the Rothwell site. Then what has been missed on all of the sites that were being considered? This is why all of these sites and others, including Rothwell, should be all considered as part of the full consultation that is now going to take place. I would like to say that around 1,300 people have signed the petition supporting this calling for the Rothwell site to be included in the full consultation that is taking place. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Blissett. Thank you for your comments. I'll now see our second speaker, Catherine Cadbury.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Chairman of Harrington Parish Council, and I'm making this statement in support of Councillor Jim Hakewell's motion, and indeed I endorse all that Mr. Blissett has said. The way the site has been selected is contrary to the procedural rules, and there is no logic behind it. The published local plan process has not been followed, and this places significant risks, both financial and reputational, on the North Northamptonshire Council, particularly through legal challenge, because it cannot be demonstrated that proper process has been followed in selecting this site and in arranging the funding of its development. I would urge you to ensure that this site, together with others, should be considered and consulted upon within the existing local plan process. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to thank the members of the public for their statements. We now move on to public questions. There are 5 public questions been received. A copy of the questions and the answers have been circulated to members. 3 of our 5 questioners, Julia Heron, Nick Shaw and Bev Wright, are unable to attend the meeting, so I shall take their questions and answers as read, and there will be no supplementary questions. May I now please see Clerk Mitchell to ask his question? Not present? Okay, Mr. Clark is not present. Mr. Mitchell is not present either. Okay. Can I please see Maria Lloyd to ask her question?
Would you like me to ask the question now? Okay, wonderful. I'm with Northants Send Advocacy Service, and it currently appear to us as with 100% of the families that contact us, the laws... Yeah, of course I can. Is that enough? Okay, wonderful. I'll start again. I'm with Northants Send Advocacy Service, and it would appear to us currently that 100% of the families that are contacting us, the laws, guidance and similar around Send have not been followed as they should have, such as Section 19 of the Education Act of 1996, with numerous children awaiting an education, in many cases for years. My question is, what is the Council doing currently to ensure these legal obligations are met? And how can councillors become involved to ensure a move to correct and proper processes being followed for all children? Thank you.
Thank you. May I please see Councillor Scott Edwards to answer the question?
Happy to answer, but that is not the question that I have been given. Okay. The question that I've been given is there going to be a review of education for SEND children and young adults? So bear with me. Yeah, so I will reply to you in writing with that answer, but I can answer your supplementary question, which I have prepared now for you. So the supplementary question is there going to be a review of education for SEND children and young adults? Ofsted and CQC have completed a thorough inspection of the arrangements in place for children with special educational needs and disabilities and their parents and families in Northamptonshire. As part of preparation for the inspection, the SEND Local Area Partnership were required to undertake and submit a self-evaluation of current arrangements. This
I do apologise to Councillor Edwards for interrupting. Point of order. Actually, that is the main question. The supplementary question, which you were invited to ask, you have asked. So the answer you're now reading out, we've already got. Am I right, Chair, or have I got it wrong? Thank you.
Okay. I think Councillor Scott Edwards did mention that he would supply a written answer to the supplementary question. Is that correct, Councillor Edwards?
Yes, if that is the supplementary question, then I'm quite happy to provide a written response to the supplementary question and take this answer as read.
Okay. Okay, is everyone happy with that?
Copy of that too.
Okay. Right. Got some clarity on this. No. do. Are we okay?
Yeah, did you just want me to clarify what's happened? She's read out a supplementary question by accident.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, the monitoring officer is going to say a few words to clarify the position.
It's okay. Thank you, councillors. What's occurred is that the Speaker has asked the supplementary question rather than the question which was her substantive question as printed and Councillor Edwards has referred to. So the question is the question that Councillor Edwards you were prepared to answer, and the supplementary question was the question that's been put. So that response has been given now, and the supplementary question that was put to you can be provided in writing, if that's clear. Thank you, councillors.
Right. Thank you. Thank you to the members of the public for putting their questions. I believe they've now adjourned to the public gallery or have left. Petitions. There have been no petitions received on this occasion. Executive presentations, agenda item 7. I understand there are no executive presentations for this meeting. We will now move to the substantive items on the agenda. May I remind members that the following items being moved and seconded, they should register their wish to speak to open the debate. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda item 8 is the annual report of the Children's Trust. As resolved earlier in the meeting, I confirm this item has been withdrawn from the agenda. That moves us on to agenda item 9, Audit and Governance Committee Annual Report 2023. May I please see Councillor Andrew Wetherill to present and move this report.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. You have the Audit and Governance Committee Annual Report 2023, which covers the period October 2022 to September 23. It's been prepared by Rachel Ashley-Corn, the Council's Chief Internal Auditor. I'll take the report as read and identify what I consider to be the key points. We've had good engagement from senior management where there's been areas of less than moderate assurance. This is a very important assurance to us as the control environment tone at the top, as it demonstrates the importance placed upon these processes. There has been significant focus on the clearance of legacy audits from the predecessor councils, and all have now been completed. And this is now enabling us to focus and pivot more to governance in the future. We have had good attendance at committee and engagement from all committee members. We continue to receive regular training to ensure our skills, knowledge and experience of the committee are adequate. We carried out a very important review on the committee effectiveness. This was led by 3 members of the committee to self-assess using SIP for guidance. Some of the strengths were observed and some areas for improvement identified, and all are completed or are in progress. I'm happy to take any questions and support this motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. May I please see Councillor Jonathan Eakins to second this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to second the report as written and as read out.
Okay, thank you. We have no members listed to speak on the debate, so we'll move to the vote. Will you please use your electronic voting buttons?
The vote has now commenced. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has now concluded. The results are 58 for, 1 against.
Okay. Well, the vote is carried. Thank you. Okay, thank you, councillors. We'll move on to...
He's not here. He's not here. Who's pressed his button then? Somebody pressed his button.
Okay, thank you, councillors. Hopefully we have now resolved the issue. Thank you. Thank you.
Actually, this is not a controversial motion in any way, and you know the motion was easily carried. There's not a problem at all. But by the fact that a member who was not present apparently voted against the motion is something which I do think officers should take into serious consideration, because it impugns some of the integrity of the electronic voting system we're all using. And I'm glad that it came up on a totally uncontroversial matter, but I do think it's something that should be seriously considered in future. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Would members prefer that we redid the vote? Rod, can we do that? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Councillors, we suspect it's an IT issue with the devices, but what we've done is we've taken the card out of Councillor Harrison's handset because it was placed on the table so that the mistake won't happen again. But if councillors would feel more comfortable with taking the vote again, then that is something that we can certainly do. So if we reopen the vote for councillors to vote on the motion again.
Sorry, Councillor Mercer. Sorry. Thank you, councillors, please. Yeah. Councillor Mercer, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is not a trivial matter, as Councillor Brackenbury has pointed out. If this had been a complex vote, then probably no one would have noticed that there was an incorrect vote. So I think that this is sufficiently serious that at some point a report should come to council looking into what happened and giving us assurance that this will never happen again, because it undermines the trust in the system.
Right, can we rerun the vote, please? Thank you, councillors. Thank you. Can we
The vote has now commenced.
There have been lots of IT issues.
There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has now ended. The results are 48 for, none against, no abstentions.
Okay, thank you. The vote is carried. Okay. We will now, we will now move on to item 10, which is Planning Improvement Board. May I please see Councillor Jason Smithers to present and move this report.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Members, as Leader of the Council, I'm presenting this report as a result of the errors that were brought to my attention in late January this year surrounding the processing of a planning application in Corby. As Leader, I made a commitment when I met with some of the residents that surround the development that, as well as the local MP and members, that I would present a paper at Council detailing what had happened and what we are planning to do to improve matters so that such an occurrence doesn't happen again. Before I deal with the main elements of the report, I also wanted to apologise again for the errors that were made. I did this at the time when I met with the residents, publicly on record in the media, and also followed this up when I wrote to residents affected. The Council recognises that it needs to deliver a significant step change within the planning service to enable the Council to effectively manage and deliver the service to meet its statutory obligations as the local planning authority. I recognise the service has made improvements over the last 3 years, and a number triggered by the peer review from the Planning Advisory Service following their visit back in autumn 2022. I also recognise that we have a lot of hard-working officers across the teams. However, there is no doubt in my mind that there is still lots more to be done, so we have in place an exemplar planning service. This report gives a summary of the activity undertaken once the errors were brought to the Council's attention. This includes the findings of an internal review that I instructed through the Executive Director of Place and Economy to undertake immediately once we were aware of these issues. The key findings, recommendations and the actions to be undertaken following this review are attached to the Appendix A that's in your document pack. The report recommends establishing a Planning Improvement Board. The board will be made up of 7 members and will be politically representative to include 4 Conservative members, 1+ member from each of the other recognised political groups. The board will be chaired by a Conservative member. It is proposed that the first meeting of the board will be in May 2024 and that the meetings occur at least every 2 months thereafter. A terms of reference is also included as part of your report. The board will oversee a comprehensive planning improvement plan that will be developed. The key focus of this plan is to address the issues identified in the processes adopted by the team in the delivery of the service, particularly the processing of planning applications. The scope of the improvement plan will focus upon the actions from the independent review, the actions from the forthcoming Planning Advisory Service visit that will specifically look at and identify models of best practice from other planning services that could be adopted here at North Northamptonshire Council. The actions will come from the follow-up of the internal audit work that will be undertaken in autumn 24 as well. To ensure full transparency of the work undertaken, the actions and outcomes from the improvement plan will be reported as required to the Place and Environmental Scrutiny Committee, Audits and Governance Committee, Executive as required for key decisions, Democracy and Standards as required for any amendment to the Constitution, Full Council with information and updates processed every 6 months. Everyone's got to be kept in the loop on this. This first report will be coming back here before December 2024. Members, I can hope you can see the importance that I'm putting behind this improvement plan, and I'm committed to ensure we continue to strive to be the very best we can as an organisation, and that we learn from any mistakes that are made, and we drive forward actions to be an exemplar authority. The recommendations are detailed at 3.1 to 4 in the report. I move that report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. May I please see Councillor David Brackenbury to second the item?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I'm very happy to second the item and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have one speaker registered. Oh, more than one. Councillor Anne Lee, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to express my concern about this proposal for 3 reasons. I'll call it processes, time and cost. Processes, what went wrong in this much publicised, high-profile case was related to internal processes which members have no right really to interfere with or no supervision of. When my residents query why they didn't receive a letter about a planning application, I can query that with the officers, but at no point will I actually be able to go to a planning office and see the list of people who were written to. I don't see that members meeting can resolve this. That's what I call processes. Secondly, time. Our planning officers are already so hard pressed. I'm sure no one here is in any doubt about it. There's so much call on their time. And there is the Planning Transformation Board, which I have the honour of sitting on, which is doing great work. But it's all taking a lot of time. So just calling them to another meeting stops them, prevents them, absorbs time that they could be using to really work on the processes that need to be fine-tuned or changed. And thirdly, cost. Is the chair of this committee going to be paid money? I mean, the cost of an extra committee, an extra board, is substantial. And I don't think that's going to solve the problem. And we need to think very carefully before we approve spending more money on another board, when maybe it's not going to address the problem, apart from maybe being a face-saving exercise. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just remind members that the focus of this report is the strategic approach to the delivery of the planning service and not specify any particular specific planning issues. Thank you. Councillor Mark Pengelly.
Yeah, thank you. There's a report in front of us that you're telling us we can't speak on because it mentions Hook Close about 4 or 5 times, and now we're being told we can't talk about Hook Close. So, but I take it on board, and I'd like to thank Jason for bringing this forward because we have to do something. And when we talk about Hook Close, this is not just about Hook Close. There will be other planning applications that have been treated the same as this. And what we found through the investigation, there was not an internal investigation, there was not an independent investigation. It was a good and a very good internal investigation by our internal audit team. And they did, it was brilliant. It was really, really good report. And they were very, very open on the issues. But what things that had happened, just to let you know, is that if Lloyd Bundy lived on Sargent Road in Corby and 5 years ago there was a planning application, then if there was one in 2 years ago, they would treat that exactly the same on who they consulted. They wouldn't, and as Councillor Mercer knows, every single application has to be dealt with in its own right. And this wasn't happening. They were just saying, this happened before, let's consult with this group. This happened before, let's consult with this group. They're some of the things that went wrong. What is not in the report, which is a major issue, is that the sign-off. And the sign-off of the reports, and what we're seeing more of is reports going to officers be delegated. And what also is, I've been told, is we're looking at one committee. We need 2 committees and we need more information and more planning applications coming to committee. And what's happened is we have 2 systems within the council. And when officers are signing reports off, what the report says, and you didn't get a report, but what the report said was they weren't getting the full information. And because they weren't getting the full information, they were still signing off the report. So if you're signing off for a big warehouse or for a small extension, you've got to have the full facts in front of you. But it was just taking what was in front of them. So that was another flaw. And that's been accepted by the council. The council have said that they accept this. It was a flaw that went wrong. I forgot the word, but there was a catalogue of mistakes, we said. But what the council have done and what Jason Smithers has done, and me and Jason will argue a lot, is they've taken this on board and they've brought a report forward. We now have to look at the failings of our planning department and put them right. We had, and I want to know what happened with the LGA soft touch review of planning. Why was that not picked up during that? Because they came in and looked at the planning department. Why did they not pick up some of the things that we have now found out through the good work of Rachel? So we're in a position now where I agree with Anne Lee. It's taken too long. I think we could try and pull it a little bit closer. If the chair needs an allowance, £4,000 or £2,000 is nothing when you look at how much this is costing the council. This has to be done right. And just finally, the failings of this council, it's happening all over. Planning departments up and down the country are failing all over. It's not just North Northamptonshire Council, it's all over. And what needs to be looked at is getting people into local councils to work in local...
Sorry, I'm afraid your time is up. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Fedorovich.
Thank you, Chair. I do welcome us looking at this, and I think it's, I'm really pleased to see it in a sense, just because I know that we know our planning is incredibly stretched and our officers are doing a very good job, the people that we have, but we do know that we're understaffed, and we know that that's obviously causing knock-on effects, and just making sure that we're robust and on that sort of front is really important. I kind of wanted to query just the whether this could have been possibly more effective as a task and finish. Obviously, having 2 months between does seem like it's very slow. Like, we know that this is kind of quite an urgent issue, and it just seems like we're not really going to be able to make any changes very quickly. I don't know if that's something that... I appreciate that we can only have so many task and finish groups at a time. I didn't know if that was something that was blocking us from doing that. If so, I'm very in support of going at it this route, but I do think this is something that we do need to deal with at pace, and that is sort of a bit of a concern for me. But thank you otherwise.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Martin Griffiths.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I welcome this, and whether it will be enough remains to be seen. I share the concerns of Councillor Pengelly. This case was extremely damaging to the reputation of this council. I know a number of former Wellingborough members are extremely proud of the fact that in the last 12 months of Wellingborough's existence, we topped the charts on planning performance out of 326 planning authorities in the country. Not the top 10, the number 1. I'm extremely disappointed that this council is now in 211th place. I don't think that is acceptable. I think we need to do more, and on the other hand, I welcome this as a step forward because we can't carry on the way we are. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Dorothy Maxwell, please.
Right. What I would like to say, Chair, is that this application, which was unfortunate, the question is, why didn't the ward member actually pick it up? Because if you actually picked it up, you would realise that...
So what?
Oh, it's funny, is it?
However,
I think
Councillor
now...
Maxwell, can we deal with the strategic
I think
approach?
now the action that has now been taken to ensure that this doesn't happen again, I think in future that this will help residents understand how things are actually brought forward. But I think that it is unfortunate. We have to learn from this and we can't look back. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wendy Brackenbury.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to pick up on something that Councillor Mark Pengelly said. He said that we have a failing planning department. We certainly don't. We've got some very good officers, and compared to our nearby neighbours, we are actually doing very well. So, you know, that we always welcome new planners, but I do think, and I'd like to thank the hard work that our planning department do. Thank you. Yeah. And I welcome this paper. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are failing. That's what I said. I didn't say anything about our own planning department.
Thank you. let's move on. Councillor John McGee.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. Chair, the people out there actually believe in it, and it's something we have to deal with. The biggest problem is that we have planning officers that don't even live or have visited Northamptonshire. And that's what the public believe. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm sure it is to an extent, because a lot of them are agency staff. But, you know, to sign something off when you've never been in Northamptonshire is farcical. That should never happen. And on the other part, Chair, if you are going to go along, and I'm looking at the leader, if you are going to go along and have this panel, and then surely it should be chaired by somebody in opposition. I'd have thought so. That's how you get best practice.
Thank you. Councillor William Cahoon, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to pick up on Councillor Maxwell's point, Chair. Just before I do, I'm reminded that the leader said there was a lot of learning, there were things to be learned from the past. I pity the people who have to go through that learning process, because it's going to be very lengthy. But to pick up on Councillor Maxwell's point, why didn't the ward councillors pick up on this issue? The ward councillors did. And one of the things that we did, and Councillor Pengelly immediately did, was organise a group within the residents, contacted Tom Pusglove, the leader, and anyone else who could be involved and be engaged in it. So there was nothing. We've held umpteen meetings with residents. We're keeping in touch with residents. I spoke last night with several of them. So we have been active in it, Councillor Maxwell, and will continue to be. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Well, we have no other speakers on that item, so I'll go back to Councillor Brackenbury to make his comments.
Well, I think I seconded and reserved the right. I think.
Sorry.
Is that okay, Chair?
Yes,
yeah, thank you. Well, thank you, everybody, for your contributions on this matter. And actually, apart, taking aside a little bit of heat and light, actually, I think I sensed a great deal of agreement across the chamber on this matter. Process, time and cost, as Councillor Lee rightly observes. Obviously, we don't want to be wasting time or officer time or indeed money in trying to reinvent the wheel. But this is a matter of sufficient gravity for a member panel to dig into the operational side of our planning service in consort with the transformation work, which you know, Councillor Lee, is already going on. I think we can all around this chamber recognise that there is a lot that is going right with our planning service, as well, naturally, as stuff which is not. And as the leader pointed out in his opening, we want to make our planning service an exemplar for large unitary authorities. We are, of course, a large unitary authority. We're not a smaller district or borough council. We have many more planning applications, much more strategic pressure, and of course we, in concert with national planning authorities up and down the land, we are struggling sometimes to recruit and retain good staff. That is something which is being taken up by the planners, by ourselves in the planning transformation area, and of course it will be a major factor in the Planning Improvement Board. So I welcome those remarks. Yes, Councillor Pengelly, I think we've exhaustively worked on the delegation of decisions, and national planning guidance suggests that approximately 96% of planning applications should in fact be delegated and not be considered by committee. Just in parenthesis, we handle in Northamptonshire Council anything between 3,000 and 4,000 planning applications per annum. And obviously it would not, Chairman, be in any way practical for all of those to go to committee. But I mean, obviously, the scheme of delegation is tremendously important to find a correct balance between those applications which could and should be dealt with by officers and those applications which are more controversial or strategic in their nature, which should be dealt with by committee. So again, thank you for those remarks. I think they were useful. And also, Councillor Pengelly, you're quite right. And I pointed out a moment ago the problems that planning authorities up and down the land have with recruiting and retaining staff. And this is a national problem, which I know is concerning and interesting central government, DLUC, as well as ourselves in local government. So we already have a planning transformation board, and as Councillor Lee observes, it's doing good work. And I think that the hard work, Chair, of the officers and members who are working in that area and in the planning service generally should be acknowledged. It's not all doom and gloom. And as was observed, actually the benchmarking for North Northamptonshire and its planning performance is pretty good. We are actually perfectly within the, perfectly okay within the scale of other major unitary authorities. And indeed, we are performing rather better than some of our neighbouring authorities, including just to the west of here. So,
Councillor Brackenbury,
I'm running out of time, but in parenthesis, I think I welcome the paper. I commend it to you, Chair, and I commend it to the Council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back to Councillor Smithers for any closing comments.
Not a lot I can say, really, Madam Chair. I think Councillor Brackenbury has pretty much summed up some of the questions that came from opposition members. I just wanted to reflect on some of the stuff with Councillor Lee that you had said about cost. That's within the in-year budget. We've got a dedicated support officer that's going to be doing this, so there should be no extra cost to this authority. I get your bit about, this is an operational matter. However, when something goes wrong with the council as elected members, we need to ensure that we oversee and make sure that the offering that comes out at the end of this is fit for purpose. And I don't think, as members, we should not be part of that process, and that's why I want a cross-party committee to come forward and to help with that. And as I say, it will be absorbed into this year's financial envelope. Councillor Pengelly, thank you for your support on this. I know that you've championed the cause for your residents that have been affected by this blunder. What I am determined to do, and I've said this on many occasions in very different media outlets, is get to the bottom of this with our senior officers to understand best practice and how we can ensure that nothing like this happens again. And I want to pay tribute to the fantastic work of Rachel Kant, our internal audit officer, who has been absolutely fantastically superb on this, forensically going through that particular that issue. When PAS came in here, they only were focusing on certain parts of the council. They weren't focusing on the process of applications or individual applications, which I think we need to sort of understand. And when they come back, they are going to have a look at this application in depth as part of that wider review, which will give us as members that level of reassurance that what we are doing moving forward will be the right thing. Councillor Griffiths, about the Planning Authority, yes, we've heard many a times you're a proud leader of Wellingborough, or the Borough Council of Wellingborough, with their planning expertise that they have. However, respectfully, what I do say is a small borough is very different to a large unitary authority, and it's not so easy to sort of hit the high levels, however, throughout that. But we do consistently score well within the peers of ourselves, like other neighbouring authorities across the country, and unitaries of a very similar size. Mr. McGee, Councillor McGee, your comments about locality of people that work for us, Planning, as you know, is driven by national frameworks. It's run by policy, national policy. So locality, whilst it is important, it's not the be-end-all of everything. And, you know, I would rather attract great talent from across the country than, you know, having not necessarily to pick locally if we don't have that talent locally. And I'm not saying there isn't that talent locally, there probably is. But a wider sea is better than none. So, look, we are only as good as a planning authority as our last application. You know, if we get our applications right, which we do, we've got fantastic officers that are working hard behind the scenes, as Councillor Lee quite rightfully pointed out. We need to ensure that our planning service is fit for purpose and it moves forward in the right direction. And I'm absolutely confident with this cross-party group, not a task and finish group because they tend to be a little bit shorter in term. So we want to have a longer term view on this. And that might mean that we stay in touch with the department throughout the journey over the next few years to ensure that they have our support as well as elected members. That, again, comes down to the co-design of bits that we're doing, linked into what we're doing at the Big 50 members working office and group. We need to make sure that we support our officers. You know, many people work for us and do a great job. And we need to make sure that they know that and support them through this process. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Well, the recommendation has been moved and seconded. We will now move to the vote. Will you please use your electronic voting buttons on the microphone unit?
The vote has now commenced. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has now ended. The results are as follows.
Okay. Well, she wanted... Okay. Thank you. We seem to be having issues with our IT system tonight. Can we please rerun that vote? Sorry, Councillor Smithers?
The vote has now commenced.
Chair, look, I must protest in the strongest sense here because this is 2 votes that have gone wrong tonight. It's not acceptable. We need to have a system that is robust and be able to deal with us elected members pushing the buttons. I think we need to have an urgent review done to find out what is causing this issue. We've never had this issue before. It might just be a glitch tonight, but we cannot continue to do business if we can't vote and have confidence in the votes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Councillors. Sorry.
Yeah. Councillors, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillors, there isn't a glitch in the system. I'm happy to confirm that. What has occurred is that the voting machine had, for the first vote, the voting machine had the card in it of the councillor that wasn't here and was accidentally used. For this vote, the button was pressed after the 30 seconds had expired. So there's not necessarily a glitch in the system. Oh, that's what... And it had locked you out. Okay, I think that's what I understood. So if we can reopen the vote again, just for absolute surety, then if councillors are prepared to vote again.
You'll remember this one.
Sorry. If your voting system does not work electronically, will you please raise your hand?
The vote has now commenced.
It says successfully, so it's taking it.
There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has now ended. The results are as follows: 57 for, 3 abstentions, none against.
Thank you. The recommendation is carried. Right. We will now move on to agenda item 11. Thank you, councillors. Which is the start time of full council meetings. May I please see Councillor Smithers to present and move this report? I understand that you wish to move an amended motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The start time of our council meetings is a matter of local choice, ultimately by this body, full council. I sincerely thank the Democracy and Standards Committee for thoroughly investigating the issue and considering various viewpoints. I also commend the councillors for their invaluable feedback and participation in the survey. The survey results clearly demonstrate that a majority of our 60 respondents favour retaining the current 6 p.m. start time for ordinary council meetings. I acknowledge this preference, and after careful deliberation with the group leaders, Councillor Keane and Councillor Feredovich, I propose to amend the motion to section 3.1 of the report that there be no change made to the start time of ordinary council meetings. Chair, I will now look to Councillor Keane to second this amendment. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Keane.
Thank you, Chair. We've had this debate a few times in this council chamber, and I'm happy to second the motion. And if we can, we could save a lot of time here by going straight to the vote.
Thank you. I have no registered speakers on this item, so the motion has been proposed and seconded. So we will move, unless you have any closing comments. No. Okay. Can we please move to the vote? Will you please use your electronic devices, or failing that, raise your hand?
The vote has now commenced. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has now ended. The results are as follows: 57 for, 0 abstentions, none against.
Thank you. The recommendation is carried. Agenda item 12, political balance on council committees. May I please see Councillor Jason Smithers to present and move this report?
Thank you, Chair. As members of the Council, we have a duty to ensure fair representation across all committees and subcommittees. The allocations to seat must comply with the provisions outlined in the Local Government and Housing Act of 1989. This report details the revised political balance of the Council, taking into account the results of the Desborough Ward by-election on April the 4th, 2024, as well as the last report to the Council meeting on March the 7th, 2024. I'd like to formally move the motion detailed in Appendix A of the report, recommendation A through to C, address the updated distribution of committee seats and establish the appropriate appointment method to reflect this change. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Can I see Councillor Matt Keane to second the motion?
Thank you. I have nothing further to add, and I'm happy to second the motion.
Thank you. Again, there are no registered speakers, so we will move to the vote.
The vote has now commenced. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has now concluded. The results are as follows: 58 for, 0 against, 0 abstentions.
Thank you. The vote is carried. Item 13 on your agenda is a request for dispensation for attendance. May I please see Councillor Jason Smithers to present and move the report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Section 85 of the Local Government Act 1972 outlines a clear provision. If a councillor fails to attend any council meeting for a period of 6 consecutive months, they automatically cease to be a member. This rule is in place barring extenuating circumstances approved by advanced operation of the council. When a councillor faces prolonged ill health, I firmly believe we have a moral obligation to do everything possible to support them and to protect them from inadvertently losing their seat due to these circumstances. As you are aware, our colleague Councillor Peter McEwen, has been unable to attend meetings due to his ill health since November the 15th, 2023. To ensure his continued position on this council, I move under section 3.1 of the report that we grant Councillor McEwen a formal dispensation for meeting attendance requirements for a period of 6 months from this date.
Thank you. Can I please see Councillor Matt Keane to second this item?
Yes, I'd like to thank the leader for his support on this. And we hope to see Peter McEwen back in the chamber soon, but it would be widely accepted to have the dispensation just so he does not fall foul of this rule. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There are no registered speakers, so we will move straight to the vote. Can you please use your electronic voting?
The vote has now commenced. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has now ended. The results are as follows: 59 for, 0 against, 0 abstentions.
Thank you. The vote is carried. Okay, we will now move on to agenda item 14, which is motions on notice. We have 3 motions on notice for consideration at this meeting, as printed on your agenda papers. Please note that I expect all contributions to be concise, and please respect the time limits that apply. A mover of a motion has a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. All other contributions are a maximum of 3 minutes. Thank you. Councillor Smithers?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm sorry to jump up again on you like this. However, the voting seems to be all over the place. We've gone up from 57 to 58, and there's no extra members in here. No one's left. 59. The voting's going upwards when no more extra members are here.
Okay. 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 Right. Sorry, if I can give a brief explanation. If members don't press their button, then it doesn't get registered on the system. So somewhere someone hasn't pressed the button. Okay, so I've introduced item 14 on the agenda. Do we want to comfort
People
break?
getting fidgety.
There's a lot of movement. Okay, as there seems to be a lot of movement within the chamber, we will have a 10-minute comfort break. We'll restart the meeting. Item 14, motions on notice. As I've already mentioned, we have 3 motions on notice for consideration at this meeting, as printed on your agenda papers. I will reiterate that all contributions should be concise, so please respect the time limits. The mover has 5 minutes to speak. All other contributions are a maximum of 3 minutes. Thank you. May I please see Councillor Jim Hakewell to move the first motion?
Thank you, Chairman. The motion is that we call upon North Northamptonshire Council to place all current and potential locations, permanent and temporary, for our Gypsy and Traveller communities into the Council's agreed local plan preparation and consultation stages, concluding with the formal adoption in March 2026. I hope that every councillor here tonight will vote to support this particular motion. I'd like to thank Mick Blissett and Councillor Catherine Cadbury for coming along earlier and speaking to us. I understand that we all have their particular comments. We got them by email and tabled tonight. Chairman, this motion goes to the very heart of what sound governance means nationally and in particular this evening for North Northamptonshire Council locally. This motion asks for no more and no less than carrying out a proper local plan process to consider the needs of our Gypsy and Traveller community in the agreed and published local plan schedule. I and my colleagues, Councillors Brown and Smith, realise the deep concerns of our communities and put the wording of this motion into an online petition to gauge feeling locally about the Council's decision to randomly pick this green space. In just 21 days, over 1,300 people have signed that petition. If councillors choose to ignore colleagues here making these points tonight, then at least support the people who have taken the time to sign the petition, who have spoken to us earlier, who are in the public gallery, and who are watching on YouTube. Our communities should be able to feel confident that those tasked with managing our built and natural environment will actually follow their own rules and act in an open and transparent way, engaging with and embracing the knowledge and talents of the communities that elect us. The conclusion that Rothwell Green Space should be destroyed, and destroyed it will be, as a result of a behind closed doors evaluation of potential locations completely outside any local plan formal process, I feel eliminates any confidence in the way that decisions are being made here. Openness and transparency are the lifeblood of any council, indeed of any organisation. When the scrutiny of significant development plans is bypassed, the financial and reputational risks to the council are enormous. Those risks affect not only the council, but every single taxpayer. Involving the community, in this case, people living in Rothwell and the surrounding areas, creates an opportunity to test out options before capital and other resources are committed. In this council's case, very scarce resources. Voting for this motion will simply put the Gypsy and Traveller local plan preparation back on track and regain some confidence in the community that we're looking after their best interests in a professional and predictable way. When I say community, it goes without saying, but I will say it, that members of our Gypsy and Traveller community are fully included. The very fact that we are here tonight for the fourth time debating this specific issue is compelling evidence that there needs to be a proper debate informed by evidence, not anecdotal comments without foundation, as part of our local plan process. A process which will be tested by an external inspector prior to formal adoption in March 2026. We don't have a Gypsy and Traveller local plan policy. Councillor Brackenby made that point in the EAP. We don't have a 5-year supply of accommodation for Gypsies and Travellers. All we have is a high-level document that is waiting for detail. If this comes to a planning application, it would be a departure from the local plan because it's treated as open countryside, with all the material reasons in favour of refusal that will draw and the complete waste of money in developing a planning application. Councillors, tonight I ask you to vote for this motion, which seeks to restore confidence in us as a council looking after our communities. And Chairman, I would like to ask that there be a recorded vote, and I'd like to ask colleagues if they would stand to have a recorded vote on this motion. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. May I please see Councillor Joseph Smith to second the motion?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I second the motion and I reserve the right to speak later.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Martin Griffiths, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I applaud my independent colleagues for their courage and in standing up for local residents ahead of any party political interests. Across the county, this encouraging behaviour is catching on big time, with individual elected members taking on the established political dogma and regime on a whole range of local issues and indeed matters of principle. I totally support my colleague's stance in questioning the democracy and scrutiny, or lack of it, the huge concern with financing this scheme, especially with our finances at such a stretch, highlighting the hypocrisy in relation to this council's highly publicised open space ambitions, bearing in mind this council has a key ambition that says, with regard to green, sustainable environment, we will take a lead on improving the green environment, making the area more sustainable for generations to come, and also for raising a petition which has attracted so many signatures in such a short space of time. Councillors have a right and responsibility, could be said duty, to raise petitions to create public awareness. I have one going at the moment of huge local importance which in itself has attracted over 1,000 signatures. Petitions aren't scaremongering. They are a very effective way of engaging with our residents and or certainly were, recommended and encouraged by this area's MPs. I totally support the motion. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Jelly.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As a resident of Rothwell and member of Rothwell Town Council, I fully support this motion. However, as an elected NNC member with my ward in Kettering, I also have to take into account the concerns of my members in Kettering. Therefore, on this motion, Madam Chairman, I will decide to abstain. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There are no more speakers registered, so I'll go back to Councillor Joseph Smith for your comments.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Most communities aren't aware of the local plan. It sets the vision and future developments and presents a great opportunity for local authorities to promote their importance. Doing this would mean more engagement with local residents, not less. This engagement will also be meaningful, allowing communities to have a say in how planning policies are shaped. So in essence, the local plan should set out what the opportunities are for development in the area and say what types of development will and will not be permitted and in which locations. Residents can look at and discuss the types of development deemed to be acceptable, where they should be, and the infrastructure needed to support them. As with the local plan, there is consultation with the local community. But in the case of the Rothwell Green Space, this wasn't happening. There was only a confidential meeting with the 3 ward councillors, and we were told not to discuss this with anyone. We were also issued with 2 sheets of A4 paper with map locations taken from Google Maps, no site photographs, no detailed reports or site visits, which is quite unacceptable. As you can see from the amount of interest from local residents, the media and the online petition, as already mentioned, 1,300 in 2 weeks. This is an issue that will not fade away in the background and will be remembered. And the interest is growing day by day. If Rothwell Green Space was adopted in the local plan, it wouldn't even make it into the top 10 for development due to the topography, location and cost. The good thing about the local plan is not that it benefits not just the community, but it also benefits the council through consultation, diligence and transparency. So I strongly support the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Hakewell, do you have any closing comments?
Silence is golden. I clearly think that everyone's going to vote in favour. I thank Councillor Griffiths and understand Councillor Jelly's dilemma. And Councillor Smythe, yeah, absolutely, you hit the same points that the residents would hit too. On the 29th of September 2022, at our full council chairman, I asked Councillor David Brackenbury, is the Gypsy and Traveller Accommodation Assessment a policy or a background document informing the development of the site-specific Plan 2? His response, the GTAA is a background document forming the evidence to shape council policy on gypsy and traveller provision. Councillor Howes has constantly used the GTAA, created in 2018, published in 2019, as the basis for pushing this forward into a planning application. It is not. It is not a policy, and it is a very tired policy already. In the December the 21st executive meeting, we heard that there were, in 2019, across West and North, 201 unauthorised encampments, of which 106 were in North Northants. In 2022, that had dropped from 201 to 82, of which 44 were in North Northants. To date, in 2023, we have had 19 unauthorised encampments within North Northants, with one direction to leave. So £3 million for one direction to leave. £3 million is going to be invested over 10 years. And we've had one direction to leave, and 3 of those are long-term established at Hardwick Road, Wellingborough, Stanier Close, and Back Lane, Desborough has actually been vacated. There is absolutely no substance to this decision to, out of the blue, pick the Rothwell Green Space. And quite frankly, having sat on Audit and Governance, I shall reach out now, if this does get rejected, to our auditors, because best value is not being served, and certainly best value for our green environment is not being served. If I can't do anything within this chamber, then I shall reach out to those entities outside and ask them to take a view on it. So, having said that, being a bit down on that one, I very much hope that everyone will vote for this to go back in the local plan process, do the job properly, do the job in the way that we've told the community we will. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We will now move to the vote. Can you please use your electronic devices?
Interesting.
The vote has now commenced.
This is a recorded vote.
Should be recorded, sorry.
It's not working.
I don't know. But it's recorded. I don't know.
There are 10 seconds remaining.
There will be. Yeah, oh yeah. It will be.
The vote has now ended. The results are as follows. 19 for, 29 against, 8 abstentions.
Okay. The motion is lost. Thank you.
So if the abstained had voted, you'd have won it.
Okay, we move on to motion 2. Can I please see Councillor John McGee to move this motion?
Auditor's next stop.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, just before I start, on the actual motion, the last paragraph before the 5 bullet points, where it says, we on this council to support the SAFE, shouldn't be the SAFE, it should be support UK Steel. So where it says SAFE, both in that paragraph, the word support should be there. We're not trying to save UK Steel, we want to support the campaign. We're not asking you to do anything else. But Chair, having said that now, I was listening closely to Councillor Smithers, your leader, that lot's leader earlier, where he says the inspiring words of overcoming political allegiances. And we are change makers, both locally and nationally. And given that, only the other day we went to the full day of the Big 50 and we all worked so closely together. Wouldn't it be fantastic if we can all do the same on this motion? That would show real working together. Because if we don't, Chair, what we are doing is we are voting against the people who work in North Northamptonshire, down the road there on Steel Road, on Weldon Road. So perhaps we can all remember those words that your leader opened with earlier, because we want to support, not just nationally, the Support UK Steel campaign, but locally, because it will impact our workers too at some point. So we have to be supporting that, Chair. And there is 5 asks there, Chair. And just as a wee aside, Chair, so that you don't feel, oh, this is political, it's not. All political parties are doing it. Your own MP is up there tomorrow supporting us at that. So this is not political by any means. In fact, Chair, your own, was it Rees-Mogg, was at Scunthorpe the other day supporting this campaign. So don't be scared politically. It's nothing to do politically. It's about common sense and ensuring for the safety of our workers, the economy of Britain, and the safety and security of Britain, that we ensure that we support this UK campaign. And Chair, we've got the 5 asks there, and I mentioned the part about the green part of UK Steel, because they're closing the blast furnaces, and that means we won't be making steel in this country. I actually support the investment to have green steel making. It's absolutely vital, because many other countries are actually doing that, and they're getting the financial support to put it in place. But what they're doing, and we're not yet doing, is when we close, or say we are closing the blast furnaces to stop making steel in this country, we're not putting it in transition together. Keep them open to renew green ones are built, so that we've still got that transition. People are not losing jobs, and we're not losing steel making. Because it's absolutely essential we don't lose that, because we'll import it from Italy, from China, from India, and it'll be cheap, but it'll only be cheap at the beginning, won't it? And then it'll start costing us. And, God forbid, and I've been a pacifist myself, God forbid we ever fall out with these countries. We're not going to give us steel, are they? To make our cars, to make our weapons or whatever. So this is absolutely vital that we support this campaign. And as I said earlier, Chair, it is cross-party, it is not political. And I bet you're glad of that, because I'm never political, really, am I? So let's see us unite as a group supporting all our residents in North Northamptonshire, particularly the ones that work down there. Because we don't want what happened to Corby, we don't want that to happen in Port Talbot or Scunthorpe. We don't want it to become a ghost town overnight. We were lucky back in the 80s, we got some support, and we eventually brought Corby back to a great place to live. They won't get that support now in these financial times, so we have to support this campaign today. So I'm asking you, Chair, there are 5 simple asks there, and a petition will be given to your MP tomorrow, who I'm sure will support that and take it forward. So let's say that we can do stuff locally, but we've also got the bigger outlook. We've got the national outlook too. We're not just little councillors sitting in a small town. We've got a big picture. We've got the vision, and we can do it together. So, Chair, I move this motion.
Okay. Thank you. Can I please see Councillor Cahoon to second the motion? Oh, yes, I see him there.
Thank you, Chair. It gives me great pleasure to second this motion, Chair. It is expected that demand for steel will rise tenfold in the coming decade. Tenfold rise in the requirement for steel. And we can be in among this. We can be producing our own steel, our own green steel, at a cost that we can't buy good quality steel in at. As Councillor McGee says, we can be buying steel from India, from China, etc. We know from experience, we know from scientific evidence that steel is not of a quality that we are used to having. A steel worker, someone in the management side of steel making told me just last week that presently we import steel from Sweden for military purposes, defence purposes. We have to import that because we've stopped producing that type of steel. I thought steel was steel. It isn't. Many different types, many different qualities. So the demand is going to increase tenfold in coming years, and we can be part of the forefront here. We can be at the forefront of making and supplying this necessary material if the right choices are made. If we get over, if we can transcend party political dogma and think with our heads and our hearts and say what is best, not only for the country but for North Northampton Council as well. In Germany, France and the Netherlands have already taken this on board. They're a wee bit more forward-thinking than us, I think. And they've increased their steel-making capacity and increased, which protects jobs. It's good for the economy of these countries, and it could be good for the economy of our country if we look at it sensibly and long term. These transitions to make green steel, this can happen here, as Councillor McGee says. There's no reason why we can't do that. This government has lacked support for any industry, but particularly for the steel industry. It is no long-term strategy for steel, which we need. It is putting the sector, which should have a bright future, at great risk.
I'm sorry, Councillor Cahoon, your time is up.
And okay. COVID told us, Chair, that we can afford 12 buildings.
Okay. Thank you. I have speakers on this item. Can I please see Councillor Jason Smithers?
Thank you very much, Chair. And I'll tell you where I am with this. I can't support this motion coming forward. And that's purely because of the word in there. You know, there's a requirement for me to write to the Prime Minister on this. We say this is not party political, but clearly it is. Why would you not put in your motion to write to the government and the leader of the opposition maybe? Because what's his view on this? What's his plan? You know, is he going to invest, you know, these billions of pounds that you're asking for into taking a public stake in the steel industry? That's taken us back to the 70s. It's not where we should be. I mean, it's only today that they're coming out. They want to nationalise the railway service. Who's picking up the bill with that? That's 15 million quid. That's 30 billion, being spent. I think we need to really get real with some of these motions. We have an MP, a local MP, who's an excellent MP, and he champions the steel industry at every opportunity around here. He fights for the jobs around here. I've been on the other end of the stick with our local MP, who really does challenge me quite hard sometimes about what we should be doing for local jobs. Now, it won't surprise me he will support some of these parts, but he won't support this motion because, quite frankly, it's ludicrous. And really, I can't, you know, understand why you wouldn't come and speak to us about a motion like this to try and gather some support on it. You've sprung it in through the paperwork as a political slant to try and get one over on it. And you talk about the steelworks and the cost of electricity to keep the cost of electricity down. The government stepped in over when the crisis happened with all the prices of electric and gas across the country, and fixed the price caps, helping thousands, hundreds of thousands of businesses across the country be able to afford to use electric and gas. So I cannot support this motion for the reasons that are in 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 in your requests. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Zoe McGee.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to speak in support of this motion, and I'd just like to bring to your attention, you know, you think we've got pockets of deprivation now. You think we've got low wage rate now. You think we've got quite a relatively low mortality rate in some areas now. Wait until one of our biggest industries has been completely decimated and then see what happens here, because it will get so much worse. And if we care about that and we want to do something about it, get ahead of the game and look after local people who are working hard and deserve a good job and a good living wage and don't want to fall into even worse deprivation than what we're seeing out there at the moment. That is the reason that I would support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Lynn Buckingham, please.
Thank you. I think the biggest problem for me is we are being used as a pawn by places like China and Russia, flooding us with cheap imports that don't have the quality, purpose, and certainly wouldn't, you know, when we need to look at what we as a country need to do, it's stand up and be counted, not be at the beck and call of Russia and China and Japan or whatever with their, you know, flooding the market. These are things that are being, you know, all cheap things. Where is the quality? Where is the quality of life for our residents? You know, we need to stand head and shoulders above and see what is happening globally here, which is why I support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Joseph Smith, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I actually do support this motion. And one of the reasons why I support it is that hundreds of British Army vehicles are going to be made with foreign steel, including new frigates and new destroyers. So yes, I do support this motion. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Jim Hakewell, please.
Well, I can understand that the leader uses the term ludicrous. It's one I would put back to him. But what a shame that you have to use a term like ludicrous when an intelligent and articulate group of people elected in this area put forward a motion to council. And it really says that it doesn't matter what you do, that the politics will come in and the people will be second. It was a great speech. I should use it on perhaps your hopes to become an MP. It's a great speech. It'll look good on YouTube. But to call it ludicrous, I think, is very disappointing. We do live in a very unsettled world. And we've already seen, for example, the war in Ukraine, where we have to get corn, wheat coming out, and that supply has slowed down. Almost all other supplies, when you look at the Red Sea and the problem there with ships having to go around the Horn of Africa to get to us, providing our own doesn't seem a wholly unreasonable thing to do. And anyone who lived around here through the time when the steelworks in the major part closed will know that many of those steelworkers set up businesses. They got their redundancy and so on. There was a lot of work done in terms of rent-free, rate-free and so on, the New Towns Commission and so on. Perhaps your memory doesn't go back that far for some of you, but it does with me. So it seems a really sensible motion. And the question is, would the Prime Minister like scrutiny? Perhaps the Prime Minister, like others around here, doesn't like scrutiny, but to write a letter to the Prime Minister and get a response doesn't seem an unreasonable sort of thing to do with an elected Prime Minister, to ask and to put these views forward. You never know, he might or might not, particularly in the highly pressured election time, choose to be more responsive. So I just think it's demeaning and sad that we can't in this chamber set those politics aside and support a vast area of our council in that way. So what I would also like to say is, will we actually see the letter if this motion does pass? Because we all stood here and we voted unanimously to write to the Children's Trust and congratulate them on their fostering. We voted unanimous, Chairman. I don't know if you have any input on that, but I asked at scrutiny. As far as I can tell, that letter has not been written and not been sent. If it had, you would think that we'd all have got a copy to say, good job done. Thank you for praising the Children's Trust. So if this does pass, will we see the letter or will that go into the behind closed doors section of the council? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Marks, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The local MPs have been mentioned. Also, Jacob Rees-Mogg, who I believe is an MP down in Somerset, has been mentioned already in the debate. However, their ideas do not actually match the motion. I know it's not a normal politician thing to actually read the motion that you're voting on, but I have. There are 5 points in this motion, none of which have got anything to do with what Jacob Rees-Mogg has said. He has said specifically he wants the green taxes removed. It's not what's down here. There's a demand to double steel production. There's a demand for state ownership of the grid. That's number 2. There is also a demand for a public state stake in the steel industry. That's item number 4. There's a demand for £12 billion in item number 5. So I know it may be unconventional, but if we actually judge the motion on what's written as opposed to the general conversation, we have to vote against.
Thank you. Councillor Emily Fedorovich, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I think with regards to this, with steel being so important to Corby's identity in terms of historically, and I mean, us as a council, we're collective, or every single person in this room, we are collectively responsible for the whole area. And so for something this important to a really key part of our area, it does seem like just a really fantastic idea. I just really liked seeing this come forward. It is a little bit shame that it's almost been immediately politicised, because I think we should be appreciating when good ideas come forward from anyone. And ultimately, it is just a shame that that's kind of just been shot down for no real good reason. So I do hope that other people in this room see the value in putting the feelers out there and seeing we really do need more green steel in the future. And this is something that's part of our heritage as an area. So why not? Why not put the feelers out there? See if this is something that we can get more support on. And I very much welcome the fact that you've brought this forward. I think it's really good to see.
Thank you. Councillor Andy Mercer, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I can't support this motion. Starting point, it asks us to change procurement rules to ensure that UK public contracts use 100% UK steel. Well, that would breach various international treaties at a stroke, because it's protectionism, and we would get retaliation against us. And you'd probably see suddenly that other countries are banning the import of Scottish whisky or something. That's what happened last time something like this was done. It's not a very sensible approach. It's a very naive approach, because it doesn't look at what is the implications downstream of what you do. Now, next, public investment of £12 billion. So it's a very simple question. Where are you going to take the £12 billion from? Are you going to take it from the NHS? Are you going to take it from care services? Or are you going to borrow it? And if you're going to borrow it, that means that it's deferred taxation. So your children are going to have to pay for it in the future. There's nothing for free. Now, I've supported Corby. You may not believe this. I set up 2 businesses in this town, just 200 yards in that direction, when the steel industry folded. I did my best to help this town. I personally put my future on it. How many other people in this room did that? I wonder if there's anybody. I did it. Now, I can't say, therefore, that I'm someone who's not been involved in this. But there's a further point. How many people who are so passionate about the steel industry cared about the shoe industry when that went at about the same time? It cost about the same number of jobs, but it wasn't so fashionable. It was a number of smaller companies, about 120 in the south. I've heard as many as 200. They were literally unbolted from the floor, the machines, put into 40-foot containers and sent to China. All the jobs were lost. To this day, in the south of the unitary area, more than 60% of people out-commute because we've never recovered those jobs. I really like the idea of trying to support British Steel, and I like the idea of trying to support Corby. I put my name on the line to do it. I don't know how many other people did. But can't we have some equality? Why didn't these people come and parade and complain and demand when we lost the shoe industry? An army marches on its boots. It doesn't just need steel for its tanks. I can't support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Anat Pandey, please.
Thank you, Chair. I cannot support this motion as mentioned by many of my colleagues. So why I'm talking here, actually we need to understand why steel industry is going down. There are many reasons. Our steel industry is not competitive. We are living in a global world, global market, where we have to produce steel which is cost effective. And in the recent time, there had been many other factors which are affecting this industry. We have started using alternative material in our construction. We have offshored many heavy engineering work, and we are outsourced and getting all those things from outside. Another thing, we have very strong environmental regulation. My colleague from the other side of the table, they always champion a green cause. Green cause is also having a very negative impact on our steel industry, because that make producing our steel very costly. And other thing to notice that in the recent years, we have UK industry, as a UK, we have started moving in service-oriented industries. we are not focusing or we are not concentrating on the manufacturing side. We are going in finance, healthcare, and education, where there is a less demand for industry. So it's always better to procure things where it's cheaper. Why to put so much money in the industry which is going down? So for all this reason, I cannot support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Martin Griffiths, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm really intrigued that Corby MP Tom Pursglove is giving the leader a tough time. It doesn't really surprise me, but I'll remind the leader and members that this Northamptonshire has now also got a Labour MP under its area. And soon we'll have 5 MPs under this area.
Nothing to do with the motion.
Sorry.
I can give you details if you wish. But in the past, the Tory administration have come up with an amendment. I'm interested that Councillor Mercer liked parts of the motion. Where's the amendment? Where's the problem in writing to the Prime Minister? This council, of whatever political persuasion, should speak up for its people. There is absolutely no reason why an amendment to this motion couldn't taken a bit of the heat out of it, and we could have actually done what our residents would expect us to do here tonight. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Jonathan Eakins, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like dealing with facts because I think facts tell the truth and more truthful. It's factual that China, Brazil and Australia produce a better quality iron ore than what we do in this country. And it's cheaper to import it than it is to dig it out the ground here. Canada, Sweden, Africa, Norway, Brazil imported more steel into this country over the last year from 2022, which again states it's better quality than the steel we're producing here. Don't get me wrong, I do support employment in this country. And I do support employment in this county. And I'm sure that our MPs across the board in Northamptonshire do the same thing as does the council here in Northants. One of the most factual things of all, and I will stand to be corrected if I am wrong, but we go on about how we get green steel, we get British steel, and that we keep producing it for Britain. Isn't British steel owned by China? India? No, India sold it to China for £1. It says it all there. Because we can't produce the quality at the right prices here. If we could, we would. But it goes to prove that Brazil has the best quality iron ore in the world. And then seconded by Australia. And that's why we import this ore. The ore makes the steel. So if we can't afford to do it, we import it. So you're saying about making green steel, but what you're forgetting is that we're not digging the ore from this country. We're buying it in. So what is the difference? If you could buy steel ready-made cheaper than what you can dig it out and create it here, it makes sense. It makes fiscal sense. But this government and here in this council in Northants support every area of employment where it can. So therefore, your figures are wrong, your facts are wrong, and I cannot support this motion, and I move it to a vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Helen Harrison, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of final points that I'd like to make. So just in response to Councillor Martin Griffiths sort of saying, you know, why can't we all get together and send this letter to the Prime Minister? Well, the problem is if the majority of people in this room don't actually agree with the motion, the only option we would have is to write to the Prime Minister saying, Prime Minister, we don't agree with this, but we're sending you a letter anyway and we'd like you to consider it, which is a strange thing to do. You tend to only lobby a government on something you actually believe is the right thing to do. So if the majority of people in this chamber don't agree with the 5 points here, we can't really write to the Prime Minister recommending it to him. So that's why, Councillor Martin Griffiths, we wouldn't do that if the vote goes against the motion. Now, there's no amendments, so I don't know what you're talking about. In terms of Councillor Fedorowicz, I'm surprised that you would be so wholehearted in supporting this motion. When it asks for us to bring in electricity price caps, the whole purpose of that is to allow an industry to use more and more energy in order to support their steel making. As somebody with such high quality green credentials, I'm a bit surprised you'd be relaxed about that. And my final thing is on point 5, I simply don't understand what we're being asked for here. A public investment of £12 billion to fund a workers' transition that doubles ability and protects every job. I have no idea what a workers' transition is, how it doubles ability of what I don't know, and how it protects jobs. So just simply that point 5, which is totally inexplicable and doesn't give me any confidence as to what that £12 billion would be used for, means I couldn't possibly support a motion asking the Prime Minister to invest £12 billion in something I have no idea what it would be used for and what the outcomes would be. So I won't be supporting the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Laura Lorman, please.
Thank you. First of all, I have declared my personal interest as I am a retired member of that said union. A lot of my 34 years working life in the engineering industry, I travelled up and down the country, and including visiting many steel plants in Port Talbot, at Scunthorpe, and many other places. I have seen how the industry was decimated by quite often changes of ownership, and I have no doubt that if the government would invest 12 billion, as Councillor Mercer said, it's got to come from somewhere. And would it actually stay in the UK? I doubt it very much, because most of the steel is, although some of the steel might be manufactured in the UK, the companies are not UK companies and are stripping basically out assets, or not, no, that's the wrong phrase, are transferring the profits in different ways. And I don't believe that even if we were agreeing to a petition like this and a motion to write to the Prime Minister and the Chancellor to open his purse and actually say, yeah, we are going to do this, I don't believe it would create many more jobs. It certainly, I don't believe, would secure the workers here in Corby. It is a union-driven wish to save Port Talbot, where they are anticipating, I believe, about 2,600 redundancies out of about 30,000 employees at the time. Most of the money, I'm afraid, goes back to India. And I cannot support something like this, having seen how the plants work, how much they support perhaps other industries. There are other ways we can become greener. And somebody said earlier on about energy prices. Energy prices are driven by many other things. We've got beautiful gas out in the North Sea, and we should use it.
Thank you. There are no further speakers, so I'll go back to Councillor McGee for any closing comments.
Thank you, Chair. As usual, whenever you have decided to stop laughing at a motion, it's try to save jobs. I will carry on. The leader, again, I'll go back to what he said earlier about political allegiances, us working together. He's just proven that that's not what he really wants. It's just words. He doesn't want to work with any of us, not whatsoever. He just wants to work with us when we'll agree with him. That's what it's all about. If we agree with what he says or what you want, and then we'll work with you. Well, from now on, that won't be happening with me, that's for sure. Sorry, speak up. Can't hear you. Chair's here. Where's the chair gone? There you're there, Chair. Chair. And that's exactly what it's all about, Chair. They work with us when they want something for us to agree with them. Well, that's not going to work with this party anymore. We are sick and tired of just playing the political game. This came forward, Chair, not as a political statement, but trying to get people to work together. And what do you lot do? You turn it down. You don't grasp it and say, yes, let's do that simple letter. It may come back with the reasons why you don't want to do it, but at least you've wrote the letter and tried to help our local economy, our local residents, but you lot are letting down again. You don't deserve to be there. You're there to support the local residents, local economy, local jobs, and you have failed again. The devastation of the steel industry has came under your party anyway, so it doesn't really surprise me. And just for your interest, yes, Labour has come out and says they will put billions into the steel industry. They've already said that. Yes, exactly. But they've said they do that. Your organisation, your party, has put less than $500,000 into it. You've devastated the industry and you don't care about the British worker. You here don't care about the local workers. I'm ashamed of you. I'm ashamed sometimes to sit in here because all you do is play political parties on a straightforward motion. It's not the first one it's happened with. You do it constantly because you've got the numbers. That's not a way to do politics and work together. It's about working together for the sake of the residents in this county and indeed this country. So you're giving up on the security of this country. You're giving up on the workers in the steel industry in this country. Why don't you give up on your party? Because they're not going to win the next election. And as soon as we see this authority run properly by a different party, the better, because you are ashamed. I'm ashamed of you. Truly am. 20-odd years I've been doing this and I've never seen that sort of attitude to a simple motion to support local workers, local economies. We're not going to win this motion, Chair, so I'm not going to stand up here and go on any further. It's just a great shame that we, as parties, different parties here, can't work together to help local people, local economy, and indeed our Great Britain, because that's what you have done.
Okay. Thank you. We will now...
Chair, recorded vote, please.
Okay, thank you, councillors. Can we please move to the vote? Please use your electronic devices.
The vote has now commenced. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has now ended. The results are as follows. 14 for, 38 against, 2 abstentions.
Thank you. The motion is lost. Okay, we now move on to motion 3. Can I please see Councillor Alison DL to put the motion, please?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Councillors, this is probably the least political motion of the evening, and I do hope that you will support it. Community centres play a huge part in working with residents and communities through education, play and wellbeing activities. In moving this motion, I want to touch on my role as chair of an NNC devolved community centre, which I did declare an interest of earlier, where our aim is to work and engage with community groups and individuals for their and their community's benefit. The management team at our community centre estimates that probably around 90% of waste that is generated at the centre is recyclable. This includes glass and plastic bottles, paper plates and cups from parties, cans, cleaning product containers and general paper waste. Our centre also has a large green open space where grass and shrubs need regular cutting and pruning during the summer and spring months. NNC community centres are governed at the moment by the commercial waste provision and would typically receive a large 1,100 litre commercial waste bin for all waste types, in which all waste is placed regardless of its nature. Our centre is very keen to recycle on site and to have the facilities to do so. We are consistently asked by our service users, where does the recyclable waste go, to which we simply have to show them the general waste bins. We want to educate our young service users about different types of waste and how important it is to recycle your rubbish. We have started some local initiatives on site. Our centre has a registered TerraCycle wrapper recycle box, which was kindly provided by Corby Town Council. We have a clothes bank, we have ink cartridge recycle station and a recycle bedding for an animal rescue, but we want to do more with everyday recyclable waste. It is the recyclable waste of cans, bottles, paper, glass, tins, you name it, cleaning product containers that we want to recycle on site, as well as our green waste, which unfortunately ends up in the commercial waste bins. I am aware of changes to legislation coming into place in 2025 that will mean that commercial waste customers will recycle at source rather than at a waste depot. But as a council, we can get ahead of this curve with this by providing community centres with the provision to recycle at least some waste on site. Even downstairs in the cube is a recycle station in the main entrance, so if this can be provided for this commercial site, perhaps a similar initiative can be provided for community centres. I ask you to support this motion just to provide some dry and recycle waste facilities to community centres, which not only makes good business sense, but supports this council in working towards its net zero commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I please see Councillor Zoe McGee to second the motion?
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second the motion and reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Okay. And we'll move to the speakers. Councillor Matt Keane, please.
Yeah, I'd like to move a motion without notice to extend the guillotine to extend the to the close of business of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ross Armour. Sorry. Sorry. Okay.
But he needs a second.
Okay. Right. We've had a proposal to terminate the meeting. Sorry.
Complete the item, so complete this motion.
Oh, right. Sorry. I beg your pardon. So, okay. A motion to complete this item. Okay. Right, well, I need a seconder for that proposal. Okay, thank you. And all those in favour? No. Okay. Thank you. And
so if you stipulate that you allow until 9:30.
Yeah.
Really is important that we know what we're actually voting about. We've got music coming from there. We can't hear what Councillor Keane actually said. And then Councillor Harrison seconded something, but we need it read out very clearly so we know what it's about.
Okay. Well, do you wish to repeat or?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so it's I was just making sure I've got the rule right. Rule 14A, to move a motion without notice, that we extend the guillotine to complete the order of business as per on the agenda paper.
Okay. Are you happy with that? Yeah. The proposal is to complete the order of business. Okay, we have a seconder. Can I have a vote? All those in favour? Those against? Any abstentions? Okay, well, the motion is carried by my understanding.
Yeah, if you can just say that you propose the time to be 9:30.
Okay. Councillors, thank you. The motion is carried, but I propose we conclude the business at 9:30. Okay. Okay, let's... I think Councillor Rossama, you are the next to speak.
Thank you. I'll be as quick as I can, and hopefully we'll finish before 9 o'clock anyway. But I did declare an interest earlier because I do spend a lot of time in a community centre in Corby these days. And I just wanted to reiterate what Councillor DL said. The regular users of our centre ask us all the time, you know, where do they put their recycling? And they generally can't believe that there's no facility to do that. So this is desperately needed. And I just wanted to add as well, our community centre, we recently increased the weekly waste collection that we have. And the vast majority that is thrown in the waste can be recycled. So I would ask members to support this motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Matt Binley, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As Councillor Diaz rightly pointed out, of course, there is government legislation as per the Environment Act 2021 amended that this government have introduced, something known as the Simpler Recycling Scheme. As members may or may not be aware, of course, there are papers that I presented to Executive with regards to this matter. Under those, or under that amended Act, there will be the requirement from 2026 for commercial providers to provide basically exactly the same service and basically a nice, simple scheme, hence the Simpler Recycling Scheme, so that everybody knows what can and can't be recycled. And that applies to commercial recycling facilities as well as the residential ones. So I think a few points to pick up on this motion, Madam Chair. We currently have 31 community centres in Northants that we are the landlords for. Of those, there are 22 that we collect the waste from. That is NNC are responsible for. Now, there is a bit of a disparity in the divide as to where those are across the areas, because, of course, over covering, you know, the old East Northants area, you have none that sit within Northants. They are all devolved. You only have 3 in Wellingborough, 8 in Kettering, and 11 in Corby. But of that, as you will see, there's a figure of 22. So, as I say, we are responsible for collecting from those. Every single location is free to select their own waste contractor. So I think it would be very difficult for us to force certain things on people. However, what I would add is if the community centres contact us, we will provide that service to them. We will collect recycling from them. We do provide it to some of our commercial customers because they have asked for it. From 2026, we will provide it. It is a separate chargeable service, and the same applies with green waste as well. We will do that. We do have, garden waste collected from certain commercial places. I think, Madam Chair, if we went down this route, I'm a bit concerned that we're opening Pandora's box. What about village halls? What about bowls clubs? What about all of the other organisations out there that would then want it? If the opposition are asking for this to be free. That's not in their motion, I appreciate that. But if they're asking just for the bins to be provided to this and other locations, of course they are free to do so. They are free to request that service from our commercial waste team, and they will gladly provide them with recycling bins, and they will gladly provide them with garden waste collection service. So this is something that can be done, I don't think it's something that should be forced upon our residents at this point in time. However, it will be coming in from April 2026 at the absolute latest. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no more speakers, so I'll go back to Councillor Zoe McGee for your comments.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep it short and sweet, like myself, and mainly because I don't fancy filling this chamber with any more hot air than what's already been put into it. If you don't have humour, then what do you have? Councillor Bingley did what I like to think of as his trademark speech, which is kind of where he says that he agrees with something and he kind of says it's a good idea, but then he stamps down and says, no, I'm not agreeing with it. I love to see it. It's typical, it's what we'd expect. It'd be great to end this meeting on a bit of a high. Come on, let's at least do something positive and work together and all agree. You said we can do it anyway, it's coming. 2 years is a long time. We should be ahead of the game, we should be moving forward, and we can do it anyway. So I don't really see the harm in us all working together and agreeing with something, to be quite honest with you. But, I mean, I'll leave that with you, and I'm sure you'll make your own conclusions.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Diald, can we have your closing comments, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the clarification, Councillor Binley. And, you know, this was specifically for community centres. It wasn't for bowls clubs or any other centres. So I think that we can be confident in the fact that this was reserved just to those 22 devolved community centres within Northants. But, you know, I do take your point. We will have a look at getting some recycling certainly on our site. But what would be good for us going forward is that we are proactive as a council in doing that, and that was the purpose of this motion, was for us to be proactive. If you go onto NNC website, onto the waste pages on the website, it's very, very difficult to find this information. If you went onto West Northamptonshire website, it's very clear. So perhaps we could look at, as a council, at our own communications that we're giving to commercial waste customers, because that information is not clear on those web pages. But I think, you know, I would ask everybody to support the motion, and all I would say is that let's get that comms out to community centres that they can have recycling if they want it. Yes, there may be an extra charge. We as a community centre would be prepared to do that. That wouldn't be an issue for us, because we just want to do the right thing, and we want to educate our children that are coming into our centre that recycling is a good thing, and we want to carry on doing all the good things that we're doing as a community centre as well. So, you know, this is a bit of a two-pronged attack. You can be proactive as a council, but we can also be proactive as community centres. But I take your points. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We will now move to the vote. Can you please use your electronic devices?
The vote has now commenced. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has now ended. The results are as follows: 18 for, 36 against, 0 abstentions.
Well, thank you. The motion is lost. Okay. Agenda item 15. Councillors' questions. There have 7 questions submitted to this meeting. Questions and answers have been circulated and will be taken as read. I should be grateful if supplementary questions and responses could be concise. Question 1 has been presented by Councillor Kelly Watts. Do you have a supplementary question, please?
I do not, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Question 2, presented by Councillor Lynn Buckingham. Do you have a supplementary question?
Not for question 2.
Okay, thank you. Question 3, again submitted by Councillor Lynn Buckingham. Do you have a supplementary question on this item?
Yes, I do. And I've been told by Councillor Rowley that the wrong answer's been given, so he will give me the correct answer at some point.
Okay. Councillor Rowley?
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, the right answer has been given because I read it wrong. So the you asked for year 23-24 when the motion only applied to 22-23, so there are no figures for 23-24.
Okay. Thank you. Question 4, submitted by Councillor Lynn Buckingham. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I do. And for clarification, I am not a shadow member for housing. That is Councillor DL and Councillor Willie Calhoun, who are shadow portfolio members. I've received the HECA report. Thank you for that.
Okay, Councillor Rowley, is there a response? No. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Question 5. Councillor Jim Hakewill, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, of course. To the portfolio holder, in the last but one paragraph, you talk about the process of submitting the scheme for planning approval, which was clearly always the intent. What will you do if, for good material reasons, the planning application is refused and we have no provision for our gypsies and travellers and a lot of tax money wasted?
Okay, Councillor David Howes.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Hakewill, we only at the moment have one option on the table. So at the moment, that is the only option that we will perhaps be taking forward to planning. So we will have to cross the bridge of dealing with the matter if planning is refused.
So the Conservatives don't have a plan?
Thank you. We'll move on to question 6, presented by Councillor Jim Hakewill. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, last paragraph. I'm pleased to say following this meeting further discussions continue with officers. How will these discussions be reported to NNC ward councillors?
Okay, Councillor David Howes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So, as per the answer, there's going to be a proper process that's going to be gone through, and ward councillors will absolutely be involved, as well as the community, and everyone will have a proper opportunity at a planning application.
Okay, thank you. Question 7, presented by Councillor Jim Hakewill. Can we have your supplementary question, please?
End of the first paragraph, Executive Advisory Panel for Connected Communities. My question to Councillor Smithers was what scrutiny? Why was there no formal scrutiny given that the EAP is decidedly not scrutiny? So why was there no scrutiny, which was the question that I asked before this member inquiries process was imposed upon us? Scrutiny doesn't seem to be welcome once again. Hypocrisy.
Okay, Councillor Smithers.
Thank you, Chair. So, quite frankly, the option of the customer service programme for councillors' MP inquiries went through, as it says on this question, through the Executive Advisory Panel that offers I would suggest a pre-scrutiny function to ensure that they're happy with its cross-membered and people look at that and understand what is. We continue to improve the process. Nothing's perfect. Sorry, man, I'll take a seat, sorry.
So can we have one speaker at a time? It's difficult enough in this chamber at the moment. If we can have one speaker, please.
Thank you very much, Chair, for your interruption there to bring the member into line. Sorry, I think you're speaking again. Oh, sorry. Okay. So, as I say, it went before the EAP. They looked at it. They were happy. We've now begun to move that forward and make it a better system. And there's continued updates to the system as and when we can look at it. We will continue to manage that. And if scrutiny, the Scrutiny Management Board or any of the scrutiny panels feel it should be brought into scrutiny, then that is the job of the scrutiny panel to call that in. It's not for us or members to call upon the scrutiny panel to call stuff in. They make that choice themselves. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Well, that concludes the councillors' questions. There are no urgent items of business to bring forward on this occasion. Therefore, agenda item 16 is close of meeting. Thank you, councillors and officers and members of the public who were present either in the gallery or at home. That now completes the business of the meeting. I declare the meeting closed.